So let's start, guys. Let's start today with respect to arrays in Java. Okay. Uh, so arrays in Java. Okay. Arrays in Java is nothing but they are used to store multiple values of same type in a single variable. Okay. Instead of declaring separate variables for each value. Okay. For example, let us switch to Eclipse and let me try to explain. For example, consider we have to declare, okay, we have to declare 10 integer values. We have to declare 10 integer values. Then what is the normal or the basic way that we declare? We can declare like this: int of a is equals to 1, int of b is equals to 2, int of c is equals to 3, int of d is equals to 5. Like that it goes on, right? Like that we can try to declare. So what we are trying to do here, we are trying to declare integer variables or integer values from 1 to 10, because we have the requirement that we have to declare 10 integer values, right? That is the requirement that we have. So this is the normal way or the basic way that by using which we will be trying to declare 10 integer values, a basic way. Now, in order to improve this, here it is 10. Okay, we can declare till 10 like A to E, or I mean A to F or A to K. We can try to declare 10 different values. But what if we are having 1000 values or 100 values, 100 integer values to be declared? Then in that particular case, it will be difficult for a programmer to store those 100 or more number of values in that number of variables, right? Suppose if we have 10 values to be declared, then we have to declare 10 variables, which will be a tedious task for the programmer, right? To overcome that, the Java has implemented arrays, where by using the arrays we can collect or we can combine similar kind of data types values, and we can store in one particular variable. Okay, for example, I will just try to convert this 4 values that I have declared in an array like this integer. Because why I am taking as an integer? Because I need to store integer values in my array. Okay, so I'll try to declare an integer. A is equals to like this: 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4. One line of code. Okay, one line of code. We try to change this kind of integer values into a single line of code, because we are trying to store data for same type, that is integer. So what we did, we converted this particular kind of declaration where we are storing the same kind of same kind of data type values in different variables into a single array. So what does this array contains now? Array contains set of integer values, right? So this is why we use arrays. The main usage of array is to have the data, a combined set of data which belongs to a type in one variable. We have a set of data. Yes. What is the type? Integer. Have we combined all this data in one? Because we need to store that of same type, due to which we are trying to reduce or minimize the way of declaring that many number of variables in a single unit. That is the use of an array. Now, how to declare an array? Right? Let us see that. It is very simple, guys. Declaration is simple. First, we need to decide what type of or what data type of values we need to store. First, we need to decide that. What is the data type that we need to store in our case? It is integer, right? So for that, what I will do, I will write it as integer. Now, If I suppose I want to declare a variable, how I will declare? I will declare like this. Integer a is equals to value. But if we want to declare an array, okay, declare an array, we have to make use of this square brackets. If we are trying to declare an array, we need to include this square brackets beside the data type, which indicates that this is not a normal variable like this. Instead, it is an array declaration. Okay. Then I will try to give one reference variable or a data type. Or a variable name. So this variable name, let me try to keep it as Z. I have declared one part of the array. Now I need to store the values with respect to array. So what are those values? We have to give equal, that is equals operator, and initial assignment operator, open close flower braces, semicolon. And in this open close flower braces, we have to include those data that we need to store. In our case, it is 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? So what we did, we declared an array of type integer and we gave one variable name. Then we give the assignment operator and we declared those values here, stored those values here. Okay, simple. Now suppose consider we have a string of a is equal, okay, not a, string of x is equals to apple, one variable. And one more variable we have like this. Okay, 4 variables. Let me take for this example x, y, z. Again, let me try to take it as a1. Okay, like this. This is apple, this is ball, this is cat, and this is dog. So we have, what do we have here? We have a set of values. What kind of values? In string values, right? We have a string values or string variables with four different values and 4 different variables. Now we need to convert this into an array. How to convert? First thing, we have to decide what type of values we need to store. What type of values we need to store in our case now? String values. So what I will do, I will write the data type. Now if it is a normal variable, I will declare like this. But if I am trying to declare it as an array, I have to give it this open close braces. And I have to give one variable. Let me give it as h is equals to, and we need to include all this particular string values. Include. Okay. Apple I have included. I will include ball. I will include cat. I will include dog. Cat, and I will include dog. Right? We created a particular string array and we stored this many set of values in one particular line of code with the help of string arrays. This is arrays, where arrays can be declared and it can store similar kind of data. For example, if suppose you want to store multiple types of data in an string, we cannot, in an array, we cannot do that. Okay. For example, if you have declared it as string array, now you want to store this one, which is an integer value in this particular string array, which is not supported, which is a limitation with respect to the arrays. Okay. Next thing is, if the arrays, whatever the arrays that we have, each array or each array elements, we can consider each array elements. What are the array elements? This apple, ball, cat, dog, 1, 2, 3, 4. This all are considered as array elements. Considered as array elements, and each array element will be indexed with a particular value, where index starts from 0. For example, this 1 that I have stored will take the index as 0. This 2 will take the index as 1. This 3 will take the index as 2. This 4 will take the index as 3. Okay. Each element will be indexed with one value. Its position. For example, cat is present at what index? It is present at second index because index starts from 0. Okay. So that is the reason we will be storing the elements in the form of index in the string, so that it can be recognized its position where it occurs in an array. Okay, so array is reference, or array elements are referenced with the help of index values. Now suppose you want to access some specific element in an array. For example, you want to access this cat. How we will access? With the help of index. So how we will write the index? We'll write the index like this. H, open close floor, open close square bracket, and then we will write the index. What is the index of cat? 0 is apple, 1 is ball, 2 is cat. 2. Like this. Now if I print this, run as Java application, I will get cat as an output. Okay, see cat as an output, right? So this is how we can identify or locate a particular array element with the help of index, right? Now suppose I need to print all the elements that are present inside an array. How I can do? I can do like this. 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, right? So this will be 0, this will be 1, this will be 2, this will be 3, like this, right? So if I want to access all the elements, then I have to start from 0 and I have to go till last element of an array. That is, h of 0 is apple, h of 1 is ball, h of 2 is cat, h of 3 is dog. Like this we have to refer. Okay, now if I want to print run as Java application, I'll get all the elements printed, right? So this is how we can access the array elements with the help of index. Okay, now can I replace this entire 4 line of code with a for loop? Yes, I can do that. See, I'll write a for, open close braces. From where the index starts, it starts from 0. Int of I is equals to 0. Until where I have to go? I have to go till index 3, right? So I'll write index as 3, lesser than or equal to 3, right? Then I'll make use of I plus plus. Then I will make use of this particular println statement. Instead of writing it 0, hard coding, I'll just make it as I. So whenever the value of I starts from 0, 1, 2, 3, it will print all those elements. See, this is known as iterating the elements in an array. See, here we are getting apple, ball, cat, dog, right? I'm iterating each elements in an array. Okay, so this is how we can iterate or access the elements in an array. Okay, so these are all array elements. Now for example, if suppose here it is only like 4 set of values, right? We have only 4 set of values with respect to string array. Suppose if you are having 1000, or you don't know the number only, how many we have, right? Then how we will be writing? We should count each one. Like for example, this is at 0th index, this is at 1 index, 2 index, 3rd index, right? So to avoid that, Java has provided one final variable with respect to arrays. One final variable. It is not a method as string. It is a final variable. That is length. Length is the final variable with the help of arrays. For example, h.length. This is the one. This length will give us the size of the array. Now, what is the size of the array? 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Even though index starts from 0, but length always starts from 1. So it will give 1, 2, 3, 4. So what is the length? It is 4. To find the count, to find or to count the number of elements that are present in an array, we can go with final variable length. See, run as Java application. Like this. Here it is 4, so I can use 3 or 4 directly. But if it is many, where we don't know the number of elements, so in that case we can use this length final variable. When it is called as a variable and when it is called as a method, It is called as a variable when we declare like this. It is called as a method when we have this open close small brackets. In the case of string, for example, if I need to find the length of this string x, then what I will do? I will use length. This is a method. This is a method. See, this length is a method because we have this open close brackets. But in this case, in the case of arrays, we will be using the final variable. The length is the final variable. It is not a method, which helps us in identifying the number of elements present in an array. Okay, so this is how we can try to have the size of a particular array. Okay, now let us try to think, let us try to declare an array by other kind. This is the one way of declaring an array. One way we have declared. Now suppose consider we know the size. Okay, suppose there is a requirement that we know the size. The size is 4 elements, but we don't know what are those elements. Right? There is a requirement. Consider that we want to store some set of numbers in an array. We know the size that it will store 4 elements, but we don't know what are those. So in that case, we can try to have one more kind of declaration. For example, one more kind of declaration of arrays. For example, like this, with the help of new keyword. Int of a is equals to new int of 4, like this. Here we are trying to define the size, like this. Okay, here we are not sure what are those 4 elements that will be stored in an integer array, but we know the size. In that case, we can declare an array in this format. Now how to store? We have to store like this, a of 0, because index always starts from 0 is equals to 1. Then a of 1 is equals to 2. A of 3 is equals to 3. A of 4 is equals to 4. Now can I store one more variable a of 5? No. You can store, it will not give any compile time error, but it will give you a runtime error. Index out of bound exception you will get. Run as Java application. See like this. Index is 4, which is out of bound for length 4, because we have declared the size of an array as 4 and we are trying to store 5 elements, right? So this is an exception that occurs. So how to declare if the requirement is we know the size that need to be stored, the number of elements to be stored, but we don't know what are those elements, which we will be knowing in the future. Then we can declare an array in this format with the size. Okay, and by using this kind of representation, we can store the element in that particular array. Okay, so this is a one way of declaring an array and storing the elements in an array. If suppose we are trying to find, or we are trying to locate, or we are trying to perform some operation on an index of an array which does not present, at that time we will get this array index out of bounds exception. For example, if suppose you are trying to print, what you are trying to print? You are trying to print a of 0 plus 5, like this you are trying to print. Run as Java application. What you will get? You will get plus 5. Okay, 0, 1, 2. Okay, here it is 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, now if you are trying to, suppose you are trying to perform some operation, and here if you are trying to access a of 0 and you are giving it as 5. So what is 0? What is the element that is present at 0th index? It is 1. So 1 plus 5 will be 6. So that is being printed. Now for example, instead of giving the index as 0, you give it as 7. Do we have 7 elements in this array? No, we don't have. Then in this case, again we will get the array index out of bounds exception, because we don't have this this element in an array A, but you are trying to access that particular element. So in that case, it will give you array index out of bounds exception. Okay, How to access? We can access in this format, right? A of 0, A of 1, like that. But we have to access only the index that is present. We cannot access an element which is out of index, right? Out of index. Suppose, what are the indexes we have with respect to this array? We have index 0, we have index 1, we have index 2, we have index 3. But we are trying to access one index which is not present inside this array, that is 7. So at that time we will get this array index out of bounds exception. Okay, so this is one more way of declaring an array element. When do we go with this kind of declaration? When we are not aware that what are the elements that need to be stored at that particular time, but we know the size, what the number of elements will be stored. In that case, we go with this kind of declaration. And when do we go with the other form of declaration? That is like this. When do we go with the form of declaration? When we are aware at the initial step only that these are the elements that need to be stored in an array. And in order to find the size of the array, what do we use? We use a final variable length to find the length of the array. The index of an array starts from 0, whereas the length always starts from 1, and it will try to give the exact number of elements that are present in an array. Okay, for example, if we have 22, 55, how many elements we have? 2 elements we have. So this length will return us 2, like this. Okay, so this is a single dimensional array, or the arrays are created with the elements that are stored in the arrays are with the help of index, and by dealing with the index we can try to access the elements. Okay, so these are known as arrays in Java. Okay, there are few features with respect to arrays. Let us see that. Um, they are fixed in size. The arrays are fixed in size, right? Like, for example, we have declared here an array. We declared an array here, that is this one, right? What is the size of this array? 4. We have declared it. We cannot store fifth element here, like this. You cannot store the fifth element. It will give you index out of bound exception. Okay, so these arrays are always fixed in size. Once you fix the size, it is final. You cannot increase the size or decrease the size. It will allocate so much memory and then it will use it. It will allocate. Now suppose if you give for 400, and if suppose we are not storing 400 elements here, but in the backend it will try to store 400 memories. Okay, hence arrays are fixed in size. They cannot be modified at runtime. Okay, arrays are fixed in size. Next thing, indexed access. We can access the elements in the form of index. We saw just now with the help of 0 to end. Okay, then length is a final property that also we saw with respect to the arrays. And one more limitation is we can store only homogeneous data elements inside an array. Now what is homogeneous? Homogeneous is nothing but only single type of elements can be stored in an array. For example, if suppose you want to store an string value inside an integer array, we cannot do that, because arrays store only homogeneous elements, only one type of elements. Integer is an what type of array this is? What type of data type it stores? Integer. So what we will be storing? Integer values only. We cannot store anything other than that. We cannot store boolean, we cannot store character, we cannot store string, we cannot store float, we cannot store double. We cannot store float also, see, right? So arrays are fixed in size. Arrays store only homogeneous elements, right? So these are the limitation of arrays which are handled by collections. Whatever the limitations of arrays we have, those are handled in collections concept. Okay, so these are arrays in Java. Now this is called as a single dimensional array. Is called as a single dimensional array. We can store like this, only one values with one index. But there is an option of having multi-dimensional arrays in Java. Okay, for example, this is a kind of multi-dimensional array. So what is the dimension of this array? The dimension of this array is a two-dimensional array. See, like this, I'll try to declare like this. It is a two-dimensional array because these are represented as row and these are represented as column values. Like this is index 0, index 0. This is a two-dimensional array, guys. Okay, two-dimensional array. Index I0 and J also 0. Index I0, or you can consider as this as row 1. Okay, this can be row 1 and this is row 2. Kind of a complex understanding, but try to understand. Okay, and this can be considered as column 1. Okay, column 1, and this can be considered as column 2. Oh, sorry, column 1. This is column 2, and the other one is the column 2. Like that. Okay, so this is a two-dimensional array. It is bit complex, but if we are having single dimensional array understanding, it is easy. Okay, so this is called as a two-dimensional array. We can have three-dimensional array, we can have four-dimensional array, we can have five-dimensional array, any number we can have, but maintenance of multi-dimensional arrays is bit complex, so we avoid using multi-dimensional arrays and we use the collections concept. Okay, so majorly we gonna use single dimensional array in the automation as well. Multi-dimensional array are not mostly used because we go with the collections where we can try to store multiple values with key value pair. Okay, so majorly we go with single dimensional arrays in Java. Okay, so this is the concept with respect to storing of the elements in an index form by using arrays in Java.